JD Vance yesterday when he walked into a donut shop in Valdosta, Georgia.
I gotta get a, let me see here. I gotta get a chocolate shake too.
One chocolate shake.
JD Vance eats sugar like a kid in a candy shop, while his wife, Usha, sticks to her veggie meals. On the campaign trail, he didn't just eat ice cream, he made a big show of it, bringing home stacks of donuts like the world was ending. Meanwhile, Usha's kitchen is full of Indian spices, nothing like JD's sugar craze. Tune in, because what JD Vance said made the internet explode. JD Vance loves sugar, Usha loves veggies. Joe Biden made headlines for his obsession with ice cream. JD Vance took a page out of that book and ran with it. He didn't just visit an ice cream shop or two while out campaigning. He turned it into a whole thing. He even joked about banning chili-flavored ice cream, which, let's be honest, is probably for the best. But his love for sugar doesn't stop there. Vance is also a donut guy, and he made sure everyone knew it during a campaign stop at a bakery, where he bought a truckload of donuts like he was preparing for an apocalypse of hunger. But beneath the sugar rush, something else was brewing, something far stranger than a truckload of donuts. And let's not forget, he doesn't just eat sweets, he bakes them too. That's right, when he's not out on the road pretending to care about voters, he's at home whipping up cinnamon rolls and chocolate chip scones like he's auditioning for a baking show. Why? Apparently, he wants his kids to have a taste of his sugary masterpieces even when he's away. Oh, how sweet. Or maybe just an elaborate excuse to eat more sugar. But he isn't surviving on desserts alone. He's got his comfort food locked in too, Cracker Barrel. The restaurant that screams Sunday morning with grandma has a special place in his heart. Back in his memoir days, he wrote about taking a Yale buddy there, thinking it was a fancy spot. Spoiler, it wasn't. His elite friend wasn't impressed, and he apparently never made that mistake again. But does he still crave that good old country-style cooking now that he's upgraded tax brackets? Who knows? But it's safe to assume biscuits and gravy will always have a VIP spot in his diet. Speaking of biscuits, he's got strong opinions on those too. In late 2024, he took to social media to show off his biscuit-making skills with one of his kids. His secret? Frozen butter. Grating a block of rock-hard butter into dough makes for the flakiest biscuits. A bold claim, but at least he's sharing his grandmother's wisdom with the world. Cooking lessons via social media, just what America needed. But he isn't all about wholesome baked goods and diner classics. He's also a beer guy, and not just a casual beer guy. He's the kind of guy who brags about liking beer a little too much. During the campaign, he was caught on camera pouring beers for Green Bay fans, which might have been a great photo op if he hadn't fumbled his way through explaining why anyone would want to drink with him. "I actually do like to drink beer, maybe too much," he said. The internet did what it does best, roasted him alive. The media mostly ignored it, but social media had a field day because nothing screams relatable politician like admitting you might have a drinking problem. Then there's the interesting twist. Meat and potatoes guy, married into a vegetarian household. His wife, Usha, and her Indian-American family eat mostly plant-based meals, so he had to get with the program. And he actually likes it. He's even bragged about learning to cook Indian food for his mother-in-law, which is probably the only reason she tolerates him. He's gone on record saying Indian food is the best vegetarian food out there, specifically paneer, rice, and chickpeas. A solid choice, considering plant-based Indian meals are packed with protein and flavor, which is more than you can say for most vegetarian substitutes out there. But he isn't about to go full vegetarian. He still loves his meat, and he makes that very clear. His wife calls him a meat and potatoes guy, and he's not about to argue. In 2024, he was spotted chowing down on a hot dog and fries, which is about as American as it gets. Back in 2022, he even competed in an eating contest at the Ohio State Fair. Nothing screams vice presidential material like seeing how many ribs you can stuff in your face. He also likes to catch his own food. In 2024, he posted photos of himself and his son fishing, because nothing says wholesome family bonding like yanking a fish out of the water and turning it into dinner. Classic. JD loves fast food. Usha loves spices. In their kitchen, flavors clash. Fast food, spices, and a battle in the kitchen. And let's talk about eggs, because for some reason, eggs have been a weirdly controversial part of his political career. At one point, he complained about eggs being too expensive, only to get dragged for getting the price wrong. Then he made an even weirder comment. He claimed his kids eat 14 eggs every morning. 14. That's a dozen plus 2. Naturally, people online took him literally and roasted him for it. Either he was exaggerating or his children are training to become professional bodybuilders. Campaigning across the country means eating on the go, and he has embraced that part of political life. He's been spotted having breakfast, lunch, and dinner at random diners, fast food spots, and local joints with his wife and kids in tow. Sometimes he even buys food for voters, like when he treated people to root beer floats at an A&W in Michigan. It's all about the optics. You want people to think you're just a regular guy who loves greasy food, not a career politician who eats catered meals in private jets. Now onto the good stuff. He has strong opinions about fake meat, and he's not afraid to share them. During an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, he straight up told vegetarians to stay away from processed meat substitutes, calling them disgusting. Instead, he sticks to real food, legumes, nuts, and all the protein-packed goodness that Indian cuisine has to offer. If he's going to eat vegetarian, he's going to do it the right way, not with some lab-created Frankenmeat. His food habits reveal more than just his preferences. They paint a picture of a man deeply attached to his cultural upbringing, yet open to adopting new traditions through family connections. Whether he's gorging on ribs at the state fair, baking desserts like a pastry chef in training, or trying to master the complexities of Indian cooking, his meals tell a larger story about his identity and public image. This man's diet is a wild mix of sugar highs, protein-packed vegetarian meals, and beer-fueled campaign stops. From Cracker Barrel nostalgia to a surprising love for vegetarian food, Vance knows what he likes. And if you ever catch him on the campaign trail, odds are he'll be stuffing his face with something interesting. Whether it's fast food or a homemade batch of scones, one thing's for sure, this guy is always eating. But what does all of this say about him? Maybe he's just a guy who genuinely loves food. Or maybe he's carefully curating an image of an approachable, everyday American who bakes biscuits and eats ribs at state fairs. Politics is all about branding. And what better way to make yourself relatable than by talking about what's on your plate? Whether it's a calculated move or just genuine love for comfort food, JD Vance's diet has become part of his public. Love him or hate him, the man knows how to eat. Usha, on the other hand, had an entirely different experience. Raised by Indian immigrants in California, she grew up on carefully spiced dals, fresh vegetables, and rice cooked to perfection. For her, food was more than just sustenance. It was tradition, culture, and a connection to family. Every meal was an art form, bursting with flavors JD had never even heard of, let alone tasted. When these two met at Yale Law School, their culinary worlds clashed. JD's attempts to cook vegetarian for Usha were, to put it nicely, tragic. One time, he thought he was whipping up a great veggie pizza, except it was just crescent roll dough topped with raw broccoli and ranch dressing. The result? A disaster so bad it could have ended their relationship right there. But instead of running, Usha laughed it off and slowly but surely started introducing JD to her world of food. One bite changed JD's mind. His taste would never be the same. The meal that shattered JD's world. JD, to his credit, didn't just accept defeat, he decided to learn. He stood in Usha's family kitchen, watching her mother work magic with spices he couldn't even pronounce. He realized Indian food wasn't just about throwing ingredients together. It was a careful balance of flavors, a process that took skill and patience. And while JD wasn't about to give up his steak dinners, he started seeing food in a whole new way. Their kitchen became a battlefield of flavors, with Appalachian staples meeting Indian spices in ways that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. They started hosting friends and family, showing off their blended menu. Paneer tikka alongside cornbread, spiced chickpeas next to mashed potatoes. It wasn't just about food. It was about building a bridge between two backgrounds that seemed incompatible at first glance. Their food journey even influenced how they raised their kids. Instead of forcing them to choose between Appalachian and Indian food, they gave them both. One night, they'd have a Southern-style potluck. The next, a full Indian spread. Their kids weren't just eating meals. They were learning about their parents' roots with every bite. This story isn't just about food. It's about how relationships work. It's about compromise, learning, and stepping outside your comfort zone. JD could have stuck to his old eating habits, and Usha could have refused to budge on hers. But instead, they found a way to make it work. And in doing so, they didn't just create meals, they created a home where both of their cultures had a place at the table. Their journey proves that food isn't just about what's on the plate. It's about connection, understanding, and sometimes admitting that your first attempt at vegetarian pizza was a complete disaster. But at least he tried. Meanwhile, Usha has embraced aspects of JD's food culture in a way that respects her vegetarian roots. She found ways to keep the flavors of the dishes he loves intact while making them her own. She experimented with smoky flavors in beans and lentils to mimic the deep satisfaction JD got from meat-heavy dishes. Their shared meals are a constant push and pull, one discovering, one modifying, both appreciating. JD's appreciation for Indian food didn't just stay within their home. When dining out, he started gravitating toward the dishes he once would have ignored. He began critiquing restaurant curries with a level of confidence that surprised even him. He stopped settling for bland flavors, realizing that even the simplest meals could be enhanced with the right spices. Their kids have benefited the most from this blending of cultures. They've grown up knowing the best of both worlds. They crave spicy dal just as much as they love a stack of fluffy pancakes. They know the smell of ghee as well as they know the scent of sizzling bacon. In their home, food is not a debate, it's an exploration. Does JD and Usha Vance's food dynamic reveal their true selves? Or is it just another act in the political theater? Share your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe for more stories that make you question everything.